Henry, I had a lot of fun with you today. This is Henry. He is a about 2-year-old. He's a mini Aussiedoodle, and this is his roadmap to success. Now, Henry has a lot of cortisol in his blood. You can see that he's kind of palpating. He's stressed out. I think having a new person in his house is stressful. He's used to, and you don't have to hold it. I want you to be comfortable. This is for you guys. And so I think that he is stressed out because I think that he came from an abused situation before, but that little twitch, you saw that jump, that's the cortisol in his blood. I think that he went from an abused situation to a house now that loves him, but felt a little bit sorry for what he went through before. So we removed all rules and structure. It just didn't ever include them. And as a result, I think that he thinks he's in charge of his humans. But when he tells his humans, he warns them not to do something by barking at them or demand barking or whatever it is, and they don't listen to him, that stresses him out the same way a parent who has a child that does things they don't want them to do, and they tell the child not to do it, and the child says, sure, and then goes ahead and does it anyways. That stresses a parent out because they're concerned that something might happen to the child. I think the same thing's going on for him. I think he's concerned that his guardians need his protection, but they don't listen to him, so that stresses him out and becomes a vicious cycle. So the first thing I usually talk to about the guardians about is exercise. The guardians here are doing a great job of exercise, maybe even too much. So make sure he's getting at least about 6 hours worth of naps. It doesn't have to be all at once, but that's a good sign. But we get him an appropriate amount of exercise, also appropriate amount of sleep. Next thing we talked about rules. He really doesn't have a lot of rules. And so one of the rules I suggested, we're breaking one right now, not allowing him on the furniture. Now, I recommend the guardians go to Amazon and get X mats. That's the letter X, M-A-T-S. They're about 11 to 13 bucks a piece. I'm guessing you're probably going to need about 5 or 6 of them actually with the ottoman. And the ottoman you might need 2. So basically what it is you unfold it and put one here, and one there. Put one in each of those chairs and one on the ottoman. And so they have, when you unfold them, there's little plastic nubs on them. It won't feel good for him to lay down on them like that. So if I want to sit here, I take it, I fold it up, and I put it underneath the couch, and I sit here and I have my conversation and do what I want. When I go to the bathroom, I grab it underneath, unfold it, and put it here. So when he runs up here to try to take that spot, oh, there's a placeholder. So I would recommend these rules should be in place for a minimum of 90 days or as long as the problem's going on. The barking, demand barking, and things along those lines. Now, the guardians are going to have me come back in about a month, and we're going to build on some of the stuff we went over here, specifically work on the collar thing. I think the targeting exercise, which we have in the video above, will help with that tremendously. Now, just to go over that, I want you to do that with about 10 to 12 treats, at least 3 times a day, but doing it more often will help, and make sure you do it in different parts of the house. And again, the progression is at first turn, then lean, and he would lean for it, then take 1 step to get to it, and then take multiple steps. By the time I get back, I'd like you to be able to go like this and have him come from like 15 feet away and put his nose to your hand. Remember, when you do it, make sure you're chopping and you're keeping your hand lower than his nose and at a diagonal angle, and you freeze it. You can't come back to get the treat. You say target after he licks it up, not before. Okay, so some of the other rules we talked about: not allowing him in the kitchen when we're preparing food, not be allowed underneath the table when we're eating. Now, I was going to show a different exercise to condition him to go somewhere else. Next time I come back, remind me about this video and we'll go through it, because I want to show you guys how we can kind of use the same principle we use for the dog bed. What I would have you do is sit at the table, and while you're sitting at the table, you're over near the dog bed, and when he looks at you, drop a treat on the dog bed, and when he comes over, call it like reservations or lounge or something that means you're not supposed to be near the table. And you're doing this when you're at the place you normally eat at, but there is no food present. So if you remind me about this, I'll watch this video, or you just remind me that part, I'll show you how to do it. I think you could probably do it yourself, but if you have to get hung up on it, probably be something to wait better until we come back next time. Okay, right now he's allowed on the bed. I would say he's only allowed the bed when the invitation from the humans come up. So he's not restricted from the bed, but he can't come up without an invitation. If he gets on the bed and you don't want him, show him you have a treat and drop it on the floor, and don't say a word to him. When he jumps down to get it, then you would say the word off to put it in context when he licks it up. And then you, at that point, would try to block him from getting back on the bed. The more that you enforce rules, the more the dog sees you acting like a leader, the more they will listen to you, and the less they're going to do a lot of the unwanted behaviors. So let's see, what else? Other rules for the door. Go to the door, and do this when you have him on a leash. So put him on a leash first. Maybe you put him on a leash if you need to. Go to the door when you're holding a leash and tell him to sit 1 time. If he doesn't sit within 3 seconds, drop the leash, walk away, and sit down. Wait for 1 minute, and then go back to the door, grab the leash first, and go back to the door, and command him again to sit. If he doesn't sit this time within 3 seconds, You drop the leash and walk away and sit down. Make sure you're seated when you walk away for 2 minutes. Next time you walk away for 4 minutes, then for 8 minutes. You keep doubling the length of time until when you go and say sit, his butt hits the ground. As soon as his butt hits the ground, you open that door. So if I want the door to open, I go put my butt down by the door and then you'll let me out. So now we condition him, instead of jumping at the door and barking at the door, to go sit at the door and ask nicely, can I please go outside? Also make sure that you are eating something before you feed him. What I would do is probably put the food down and just stand between him and the food and don't let him go around you. And then you get a chip or cracker, preferably something crunchy that you can eat in 5 or more bites. If you're gonna eat a real meal, make your real meal, eat your real meal, and then feed him, put the food down after you get done. So dogs eat in the order of their rank. That's a real easy one that just helps him see you as having more authority. So if I go over and I get done my snack and I go over and tap the bowl and he comes over and sniffs it and he's like, you're not in charge of me. As soon as he walks away more than 5 paces, I pick it up, I dump it empty. It's important to put the empty bowl back down. That way, every time he goes to get water or walks by that, he knows it's empty, it's empty, it's empty. Kind of like driving the 405. When there's nobody ahead of you, go as fast as your car will go, because that won't last very long. So the idea is, when they tell me to eat, I better eat, because there will not be food left over, and then I go without eating until the next meal. Now, it's not ethical to withhold food from a dog. We're not withholding. We're saying you eat under this condition or you don't eat at all. And if you don't want to eat now, then you have to wait for the next one. If he goes longer than 3 days, message me, but usually a dog that goes longer than 3 days without eating means somebody in the house is cheating for him. So remember, hunger becomes your ally. Don't cheat. It's just a healthy way for him to see and respect you as an authority figure. Okay, so those are some examples of rules. We also went over petting with a purpose and passive training. And these are probably going to be the hardest things for you to go through. Petting with a purpose, if he comes up and nudges you or paws you or barks or jumps in your lap, he's demanding attention. He's cute, but he's still demanding. So when he does those things, instead of petting him and reinforcing, yes, you're the boss of me, what we're going to do instead is we're going to give him a counter order. Tell him to sit. If he's already sitting here, we ask him to sit over here, or ask him to lay down, either sit or lie down. And if he does sit, we pet him under his chin and say sit, and not good sit, just sit. If he doesn't within 3 seconds, then we retract and we just go about our day. Show him that you're living your best life, doing other things, and that you are not at all concerned that you didn't get a pet him. I think one person in particular is like, oh, but I'm going to pet him anyways, or I'm going to, and so he's just like, I have no motivation to listen to her. She's going to pet me whether I do what she wants or not, so I'll just do what I want, and she'll still reward me. So I want you to start playing hard to get. If you tell him to sit and he doesn't sit, show him that you got other things to do. Yes, buddy. And then if he does sit, we pet him under his chin and say just the word sit, and be careful how you say it. Remember, don't say sit, sit, sit. I really say it twice. I tell the dog to sit during command stage. When they sit, I pet them on their chin to reward them, and I say sit again to link it to the action of sitting during the reward stage. And so after a while, he'll start coming and sitting in front of you to prepay for attention, because that seems to be the thing that gets your attention now. When he does that, make sure you pet him. Now, I use the watchword paycheck if I suspect someone's petting without a purpose. So I come in the room, somebody's petting, and he's standing up. We say paycheck. That person has to stop petting, even if they did it right. And they tell the dog to sit. When the dog sits, they pet it on the chin, say sit. Say, actually, I asked him to sit, and you missed it. You were in the other room. But thank you for reminding me, because I do forget. We also want to use, what was the other one that we went over? Repeat, or if you're saying the word multiple times, I would say repeat or rerun. But there's another one we talked about, another watchword. I forgot what it was. But it's a gentle, if you're saying it too many times, I think is what we were talking about. The other one I use is passive training. And I have a watchword for this. I use say recognize, reward. I use different words for it. But basically, passive training is just rewarding him when he does the things that we want automatically on his own without our influence. So every time he comes to you, pet him and say, come. Every time he sits down, pet him under his chin, say, sit. Every time he lays down, pet him under his chin, say, down. Then you can pet him anywhere you want. Just don't pet him on top of the head, because that creates a down nose orientation. So you can scratch his shoulder, his back, but just if all things are equal, try to pet him under his chin. But again, you're not influencing this. He just came to you on his own. You pet him and say, come. So the more you do this, the more that he will start emulating those behaviors, because now that's what's get your attention. But if I bark and you yell at me to stop barking, well, I'm getting your attention, even though we think, but I'm yelling at you. I'm saying, no, I don't want you to do it. And he's like, I just think we're both barking, because I'm barking and you're yelling. It seems about the same thing. So he's like, look, they agree with me. So when he barks now, just don't even look at him. Even a look can be validating to him. That's validating. Yes, buddy. So don't just ignore him completely. And the more that we enforce rules, the more that we pet with a purpose, the more we reward desired behaviors, the more he's going to emulate those behaviors. And then he starts to adopt a follower's mindset. Once he sees himself as a follower, then it's not my job to bark at who's outside. It's not my job to not come when I'm called and things along those lines. Yes, you hear something outside. Your door freaked me out. Every time I open the door to your building, it makes a squeaking sound. I thought I ran him over, just the squeaking of the door. All right, on walks, it'd be better if you could have him walk next to you rather than in front of you. And whoever's in front is perceived to be in charge. Yes. And remember, don't pet him when he's anxious or nervous. Lay your hand on him. And if he is reacting to something, increase the distance between him and whatever he's reacting to. Let me see, what else? That's pretty much, I think, a summary about everything we went over. Is there anything else you want me to go over?
So when he's barking one more time and we ignore him, then he stops barking.
Then when he stops barking, ask him to come to you. When he comes, pet him for coming. Pet him, and then tell him to sit.
And what if he doesn't come? What if he just stops barking?
Now, one thing you can do is the fourth quadrant of operant conditioning, to be all scholastic, is B.F. Skinner. This is operant conditioning. The fourth quadrant is called a negative punishment, and negative means to deduct something from the equation. So if you really want to do something and he barks, get up immediately, leave, and close the door, go to your bedroom, and now he is without you. So your barking causes me to leave. Well, that's kind of the opposite of what I want you to pay attention and go tell those people they shouldn't be walking from our door or whatever it is. And like I said, good attention, bad attention, pretty much the same thing. So I'd like you to also come up with a list of the official vocabulary words. And if somebody says, come here, you say, vocabulary. Like, thank you, babe, come. So it's easier if we only use one word, come here, over here boy, dog's name. That's a lot of words for him to remember. We say between 2,000 and 11,000 words a day. So if we can just simply say one word, it's easier. He'll learn up to 83% faster if we only use the one command word. So remember, he comes to you, pet him and say come. It's truly one of the easiest things to do. So say vocabulary if somebody's using a different version of the word. Say repeat or rerun if you're saying the command word more than once. I can't remember what it was. I think you were calling him multiple times is what the watchword was. So what did we say, like one time? So come up with something that, so you can, if you ask him to come and he doesn't come, show him you're living your best life and you're not missing out. But the more you keep on saying, come here, come on, buddy. It's like, I got her wrapped around my little finger. I can do what I want. Instead, he's going to start learning, if I don't do what they want, they don't pet me. Now I've gone 2 days and nobody's petted me because I'm being a little defiant. And as soon as I sit, they pet me. As soon as I lay down, they pet me. It's so easy. Why wasn't I sitting down? And after a while, like I said, he'll start prepaying for those options. Use the passive training for eating. Come up with your favorite dish or favorite food. Every time he takes a bite of food, we say sushi or pasta or whatever we want to say. And after about 3 months, you'll say pasta. He'll go over and eat his food. I do the same thing with water. I say agua. Every time my dogs drink, I don't need my dog to drink, but it's nice to have that vocabulary. Every time my dog stretches, I pet him and say stretch. I name all the individual toys. Every time he brings me all Kongs can be Kongs, but if he has a little zebra, call it Stripey or Zeebs or whatever you want. Name all of your individual toys. That way you have a richer, better vocabulary with him. Yes. All right. Anything else? I think that's pretty much it. Now, if you do have questions, please call me or text me. If I don't hear from you, I assume everything's going great. So I'm going to have Becca, my booking coordinator, call you next week, and she'll get you on the books for about a month, and we'll do a 1-hour follow-up session to work on some of the other stuff and build up. But I'm hoping within about a week or so, you can go like this, and he runs to you, and then you target, then you pet him a little bit, and eventually just he runs to you, and you have the leash in your pocket, you pull it out, attach the leash to him, and then we go out for a walk.
So when he does that, he shouldn't show the leash?
No, I'd have it kind of coiled up into my pocket or just on the shelf somewhere he can't see it when he's not paying attention. Last thing I want to go over is the dog bed. Get an extra couple of dog beds, or get at least one. So you can have, and I wouldn't have the one that's probably part of why he's by the dinner table. His dog bed was there. I would just leave it in here. So he doesn't need to have one there. Just get a white towel you can put in there. If you want to get another one, that's fine. I would actually like you to get a bigger one because that one's not too small. You can use that one in maybe in the kitchen by the little, if you're hanging out. Don't let him sit there when you're eating breakfast in the kitchen nook. But when you get it, make sure it's light gray, light cream, or white, no pattern. And the design you have there is fine. Sometimes they have like buttons and little depressions. You can throw the treat in there and he can't see the treat. So make sure that he can see it, just leave it there, it's very obvious. And make sure it's big enough, about twice the size of the one you have now, so you have to take at least one step on it. So we throw the treat on it, he goes...
twice the size.
Twice, well, a little bit, about twice the size. I just wanted to have to take at least one step on it before he can lick up the treat. But if he just goes over and just licks up the treat without stepping on it, he's not technically going to Venice. So we'd like at least one step. So the first way is to toss a treat. Yeah, I know. Second way is to leave a treat. And when you toss it, make sure he sees it. And every time he licks it up, say the word Venice. Next, when he's in the next room, leave one there and don't say anything. When he goes and finds it, say Venice. Third way, you can lure him onto it, put him in a sit or an LAY and put it in his mouth and say Venice. So these are 3 ways to entice him to go there. But after a while, he's going to go there on his own. When he does, you pull a treat out of your pocket and throw it. So now, every time I come here, it rains treats. And that's the formula we want to use for a lot of different things. At first, we use the treat as a motivation or to get the dog to do it. Once the dog starts doing it on his own, then we drop the treat or pet to reward them for compliance after they did it. We only do the first start to jumpstart. You shouldn't be throwing the treat every time. The idea is eventually to reward the behaviors that we like.
So the other times you just reward the pet.
Yeah, a pet could be just a reward as well. And if you're like laying on the couch and he goes and lays in the dog bed, and you know if you get up to go pet him, he's going to get up anyways, just say the word Venice. If you don't have a treat, just say the word. If you have a treat, say the word, and then when he licks it up, say the command word.
Yeah, so I don't have to just get up.
No, but you have little, I mean, if you hang out here, you have 2 little drawers, maybe put a little ramekin thing there with a little thing of dog treats in it. That way you can just quietly come over here. Oh, it's not actually a drawer.
That's a drawer.
That one is on that side. Okay. And so that way you can kind of reach over, grab it. But again, you might want to get, this is a mini treat pouch. You can get this on PetSafe. And PetSafe, this is the mini. Don't get the small. The small is like this big. And so get one of these. I like this one. I've tried other treat pouches. This is the one I like the best because you can clip it on anything. Something else I'd like you to get is a snuffle mat. SNUFFLE. It'll look like a floor mat with like really big shag carpet coming out of it. What I want you to do is I want you to start feeding him one of his meals through the snuffle mat. So with him out of the kitchen, put it in, make sure you're eating something first. He sees you eat, then you have him outside the kitchen. One of you is blocking the kitchen. The other one, you just take this food and you kind of hide it amongst all these little snuffles. Then he's got to use his nose and move it to get his food. That boosts his confidence because he's earning that food. It's a simulative hunting. It is stimulating for him, and it helps slow down his eating process as well. So I would kind of probably order that on Amazon. Also, these are the treats I like to get, Tricky Trainers. You can all get these on Amazon. Get the 14-ounce bag or 15-ounce bag. Make sure you get the chicken liver. That's the ones I like. And then if you want to use the crack, the first thing that I was using, it's Stewart's, I believe it's Stewart's freeze-dried beef liver. If you can't find any of those, just email it back, the email that I sent to you, and just say, what's the other treats, what, and I'll send you a link to it. Or I can send you a link to our supplies page, where it has a whole bunch of different stuff on it. All right, well, we are way late on the session. I've got to get to my next one, so we're going to summarize this. This is Henry. That's how we'd say it if we were in New York, but it's just really just Henry. And this is Henry's roadmap to success. Remember, everything you do trains your dog, only sometimes you mean it.